Okay, let's start now.
Yes, sure.
Well, first, hello everyone. This is Noah Hatem, an EFL English teacher from Egypt, and I'm here to interview Mr. Aziz Subai and his wonderful book about grammar games. First, I welcome you, Mr. Aziz, and thank you for accepting our invitation. Mr. Aziz is a Moroccan EFL teacher who graduated from Ibn Saud University, BA degree in English literature. You like, as I know, using technology with teaching, and you enrolled in several professional development courses designed by the International Teacher Development Institute in Arizona University. And you're also an active member of the Moroccan Association of Teachers of English, both as a participant and as a speaker, right? Hello, Mr. Aziz, are you with me?
Yes, yes, I hear, yes.
Well, these are such great accomplishments, and we're very honored to have you here. First, our topic is about your book, Grammar Games for Better Language Instructions. So, can you give us just a brief review about your book, please?
Okay, thank you for having me today. So the book was actually written 6 or 7 months ago. So the idea was to insert an element of fun into our teaching. Because I think most of English teachers, are facing a lot of problems in teaching grammar difficult structures. That's why I thought of, writing this book to face this issue.
That's really an issue for every teacher. Now, you said that it took you about 7 months to write this book, right?
Yes.
Does this time include the study as well, the study you made to make this book? The 7 months?
You mean the study of the questionnaire, etc.?
Yeah.
The study was done separately, and then I collected the data, the information, and tried to interpret them. So the study was done in a separate, I did it alone, and then I tried to interpret, and collect data to interpret what I have.
The grammar, as we all know, is a very difficult place to teach for many teachers, actually all teachers, if I may say. So why did you choose this topic, the grammar?
Why I have chosen grammar? Because
games and grammar. Yeah, it's a difficult, and games are not something that is easy to handle. So why games and grammar?
Yes, here is the problem. Grammar is not easy to teach. Grammar structures are difficult to teach, and most of teachers they complain about grammar structures, and they still teach it. And students don't get the rule, and teachers keep correcting mistakes. So it is an endless, circle. Games are good, but games sometimes, if it is not done in a controlled way, it might lead to problems. Classroom management problems. So games are difficult, and no, games are good, and grammar is difficult. So I try to combine those two to make grammar easy. So
So,
games and grammar.
why do you think using grammar games to teach grammar would be better than traditional way of teaching it?
What was the question again?
Why do you think it is better to teach grammar with games than teaching it with just the traditional way as we always do? What can
Because
games do more for teaching grammar?
yes, maybe because the traditional way was not working. If it was working, we will continue working with it. Because what is the traditional game? What is the traditional? Sorry, what is the traditional method? I sometimes I call it chalk and talk. So writing the instructions or writing the structures on the board, sometimes pushing students to discover the rule, or sometimes the teacher, gave the rules to students, and then a little practice, and then exercise or two, and then we are done. Maybe games is one way to make teaching fun for both the teacher and the students, and to make also grammar structures get stuck in the learner's head or in the learner's mind. That's one way of dealing with grammar.
Yeah, that's right. Do you think that teachers should teach every grammatical item in the curriculum using games?
Not if that was possible, it will be good. But if the teacher, if the teacher knows how exactly to do that, how to incorporate games into his teaching, not only grammar, into writing, into speaking, into listening, that would be great. But as I said, this approach of using games uh, has some drawbacks, especially in large classrooms. If we have a lot of students, crowded classrooms, teachers might face classroom management problems.
So how do you think they should deal with it? So you mean large classes cannot use games? If I'm teaching large class, I shouldn't use games to teach grammar?
No, I am not saying that large classes or teachers with large classes should not use games. I am saying that if teachers found a way to control their classes, for example, divide students into groups or use the different interaction patterns, working in pairs, working in groups of three, etc. Uh, if the teacher is capable of doing that, and at the same time making students noise, controlling the class, making the student noise, a little bit below the average. If that works for him, it's good. But if it is the opposite way, uh, I suggest that he or she starts in a start small, not
How
use
small?
games, small, for example, instead of, for example, making the whole lesson uh, uh, about games or using games the whole lesson, maybe the teacher can start in a progressive, slow way. For example, he or she can use games just as a warm-up activity, or just a time filler. For example, sometimes there is that 5 or 6 minutes left at the end of the lesson. Maybe this can be used as a time filler. Games can be used as a time filler. This will help the teacher test the waters and see his or her see his students' reactions about the game, and then plan future lessons and courses.
Okay, if teachers could overcome this problem of large classes, what else do they need to consider when using games?
Okay, as I said, they should take into consideration their students' needs, their cultural, social background, because students are different from each other. You know, some students, react differently, in games, and others react in a different way. Yes, maybe the teacher should ask his students if the idea is good or not.
So you can
Uh,
share.
yes, he can share his thoughts with students to see their reactions.
That's good. When they feel they're involved, I think their participation would be a lot better, and they'll be more enthusiastic about it.
Yes.
Okay, in your book, you introduced one game to teach a certain structure. Do you think it's possible to use more than one game for the same structure in one session?
What was the question again?
So if you're teaching comparative using tic-tac-toe, can I use tic-tac-toe and word search to teach comparative in the same class or the same session?
Yes, of course. As long as you are aware of your objectives, you can use whatever game you want. The issue is not the game, and the teacher. The teacher controls what he or she wants to teach for his student. You can use tic-tac-toe, you can use word search, you can use other online games, but you need to make the games suit the teaching context, suit your student needs, and the classroom environment in general. And of course, you can edit the game, or you can make your own game.
So, in your book, also these examples that you introduce into your book to use in the classroom, do you think it is possible to use them for distance learning, as the circumstances around and the pandemic and so?
Yes, of course. These games can be used, in any form of context, in distance learning, in learning management system, uh, maybe with some changes. Because if you want to use them in online learning, you can, for example, use them as a Word document or as a PDF document, or you can make them interactive with, for example, bonus points. You can also add badges for students who complete the tasks. You can gamify the classroom, as we say. You can gamify the classroom, and this we. I think the perfect way to use games is to make a sort of incentive, because students like to be offered badges, like to be offered encouragement.
So if I want to use a game in my class, how do you suggest I do that in step-by-step way?
If you want to use a game in your classroom,
Yeah.
okay. So maybe the first step is talk to your student. Okay. The okay. The second step is prepare a lesson plan with just one game, for example, as a time filler or as a warm up. Don't use it throughout the whole lesson. And then after you complete the lesson, you can collect students' feedback, or for example, you can assess them, see if they understood, or if they you know if they took something with them. Okay.
So this is using grammar games for introducing the topic of grammar or time filler. Is it possible to use these games for assessment?
Assessment, I am not sure, but you can use them for assessment. For example, I will give you the example of Kahoot. Kahoot is it's a sort of application in which students play and at the same time learn. They earn points and they earn things like that, and they learn. Uh, I think there is the possibility to create a quiz in which you can assess students in a gamified way. So maybe we can use games for assessment.
So can really use games in all stages of our lessons. Don't you think it's going to be a bit chaotic?
No, it's not all in all the stages. You need to choose certain moments of using the games. For example, you can start. Let's say you can use a warm up activity in form of a game. For example, I don't know. For example, students engage in some form of a game, and then you explain the objectives, you discuss the lesson objectives with them, and then for example, you can move to presenting the topic of the lesson, and then introduce a game, okay, and then move to another part of the lesson, and then introduce the game. Okay, so you do it in this way, on and off. It's not done in a continuous way. Do you see my point?
Yeah, yeah, I think that would work. So, so this book about games, have you written any other books or articles about other issues?
Yes, I actually wrote so many articles related to teaching and learning English in general, and I shared my ways of dealing with students, of encouraging them, for example, through portfolios, through things like of that sort.
Great. Do you plan to write? Is there any topic that interests you enough to write another book on it? Do you plan any? Is there any a new book for Mr. Aziz in the future?
Yes, of course. I have some ideas, and I am planning to use them. To write something. Uh, Maybe a research paper or a short ebook. Yes.
Yeah, that we can't wait to see it, Mr. Aziz. And thank you for this interview. And we hope to see you soon in another interview for your new book.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much. And very happy to have this discussion with you.
Thank you. And goodbye.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.